Hey guys, it's Denden and we're covering another S tier chapter, this time with 1156. Straight off the bat, we should be taking note that 5-6 is Gomu, so 56 is Gomu, as in Luffy's fruit. So with 1156, we've been expecting some devil fruit ties or reveals, and lo and behold, Oda did not disappoint. We start with the narrator explaining that the Kube pirates were super popular. Their bounty posters were being sold for a high price, and Shaki was the most popular. So we are being told here that the second in line is the most popular of this crew. The Kube and Roger pirates clash because Roger wants to simp Shaki, but Shaki says, "I belong to no one," which will become important in a second. Rayleigh isn't as affected by Shaki's beauty, and we see this catches Shaki's attention. She seems to be wearing the cloak Rayleigh is usually seen wearing earlier in the story. Okay, so straight up we can infer from this that Lily Nefertari was a princess and second to the queen. She was very popular, which may explain why Emu wanted to covet her. Yet Shaki's quote shows us Lily refused to belong to Emu. Next we see Garp use Meteor Fist against Roger. Roger uses a new attack called Wild Soul, or Ara Mitama in Japanese. The ama suffix here has been used before, for example as the prefix for Amatsuki, and can mean heavenly. Garp seems more effective here as well, and he's got the classic smile, alluding to the fact that the Monkey Clan members seem particularly strong, even against Roger. While we see Roger and Garp fighting in an epic double page, the narrator reveals that it was about around this time that Roger, Garp and Rox initially started clashing. So their rivalry began around this time, basically. Now, we see some bits and bobs with Loki, but again, nothing special until later when it gets kind of more context. So we're just going to skip straight to the last important thing, which is Zebeck and his crew. And for those real nerdy, deep, super cool One Piece fans, we get a super satisfying piece of lore. We are introduced to Zebeck's crew, and among them is Stroizen, Big Mum's future handler. Stroizen stock's flying up, so he's getting a glaze in this segment for sure. Lots of theories out there. Myself, a friend, Ace, you might have seen him on Discord, often on the Stroizen Zebeck agenda, so big ups. Anywho, we also see the Fishman Rocks member from God Valley introduced as Barbel. Now, this is where things get omega deep though, with a very big twist. Zebeck tells us that he wants 2 devil fruits, but he adds he wants Harold to eat the fruit so that it can truly awaken. Before this, we had no explicit hints towards the fact only certain people can truly awaken certain fruits, so this recontextualizes pretty much every devil fruit user in the story. Okay, but first let's get into Zebeck's 2 devil fruits. Which fruits is he after? There's a few candidates supported somewhat by prior chapters. For example, 1,000 chapters prior to this one is chapter 156. If you've been following the channel for a while, you would have heard me talk about a scene from this chapter quite often, which is when Nami describes how an island can be made with magma. The relevance here is that God Valley was an island that disappeared, so the opposite of that. Nami tells Chopper there's an undersea volcano nearby, which is why they can see the steam rising out of the ocean. She adds that there's actually more volcanoes underwater in the One Piece world than above, which, as an aside, I personally expect to play a pretty huge role in creating the currents that take the Straw Hats to Laugh Tale. We've got a video on that. She also tells us that 1,000 or every 10,000 years a new island will form there. Next we see Luffy wondering if he'll still be alive in 10,000 years time, which of course is ridiculous for a human, but it fits the theme of living through people's memories, stories and inherited will. These elements are all aspects of Zebeck's character, and the formation of an island fits with the idea that God Valley was an island that disappeared. So this could hint towards Zebeck having the Gura, right? Because during Marineford there was a lot of talk about how Whitebeard could destroy the world, and then when Blackbeard got the fruit, he said he was going to destroy Marineford. So the other potential relevant detail in that chapter is that we meet Bon Clay. Bon Clay's significance starts with the Straw Hats fishing, and they accidentally pull him out of the sea. This could be a Davy Jones reference, but the key thing is that Bon Clay symbolises the 2 sides of the same coin motif. His name is Mr. 2, as in 2 sides, and he can change his face to copy someone else. We see Cobra's face amongst Bon Clay's repertoire, and Zoro comments how if Bon Clay pretended to be a king, it could be very dangerous. Seeing as Zebeck is speculated to be an important manifestation of the 2 sides of the same coin motif, these things are probably tied. So in summary, 1,000 chapters prior to this one, we have the two sides of the same coin motif, and we also have a character talking about creating islands. The two sides of the coin motif apply to Zebeck as his character, and the creation of islands could imply that Zebeck has a fruit that destroys islands, which is the opposite, right? Which is the Gura. Now, this next one is even more important and is pretty close to me personally because of theories myself and Kube have done about the connections between God Valley and Marineford. So, half of chapter 1156 is chapter 578, in which the Marine headquarters collapse under the multiple earthquakes it has sustained. As I mentioned, this reflects the destruction of God Valley, specifically with Blackbeard saying he's going to sink Marineford. So it could be that God Valley was also sank. This would tie into the whole Davy Jones locker theme, right? Sengoku, the highest ranking Marine, attacks the Blackbeard pirates while Blackbeard is trying his new powers. Sengoku's attack is noted to be a shockwave, again giving off Zebeck vibes. At the end of chapter 1159, Zebeck says he will reveal what's at the summit, again linking God Valley to the Summit War, so this could be more foreshadowing for the Gura. Rox also says in this chapter that he has to go to Elbath to get one of the Devil Fruits, strongly alluding to the Royal Devil Fruit we've heard about earlier in the arc. I've made two theories around the Royal Devil Fruit of Elbath being either the Gomu or Enel's Goro. We speculated that Loki might have set out to retrieve the Goro after the situation with his father because we know he went out to sea. This would fit in the timeline if Rox had the fruit, died, and then it was reincarnated at Burka, leaving Enel to conquer it years later. Zebeck's reveal showed two lightning bolt looking lines in his hair, and his laugh is Vo Ha Ha, which could reference vaults. It's probably worth mentioning that alternatively Blackbeard went to Amazon Lily for Boa's fruit, which could hint towards Blackbeard wanting to use the fruit to unpetrify someone. The Kuja tribe were shown in 1156, so it could be the case that Rox wanted that fruit. However, I think it's more likely it's just Blackbeard. But maybe some future context will add weight to this idea or clear things up. One quick honourable mention is to the Chop Chop fruit, because Zebeck's wanted poster looks just like Buggy's, but again, I think that's doubtful. Finally, and probably the most likely candidate for at least one of the Devil Fruits, is the Yami. Zebeck's laugh Vo Ha Ha matches attacks associated with the Yami, like Vortex. The fruit is of course inherently connected to Blackbeard, a character which reflects Luffy. The Yami itself is mirrored by the Gomu, which are the only two fruits in the series to share such a resemblance. This does definitely suggest that the two fruits will be the Yami and the Gomu, and perhaps mean the Yami has a different name originally. Roger is the central character of the previous generation, and his counterpart in many senses is Rox. So Rox having the two most important devil fruits in the series does seem to fit, and would be a huge puzzle piece to the final part of the story. The Gomu has tons of ties to Elbath and its sun-based culture, so it's likely the Gomu is the royal devil fruit of Elbath after all, and that Zebeck managed to take it from Elbath. If so, then both Luffy and Blackbeard have inherited abilities from Rox, and possibly more, playing deeper into the whole two sides of the same coin motif. Again, the chapter number plays into this, 1156, with 56 being the Gomu, and 11 being symbolic for the two sides of the same coin aspect. So Roger and Zebeck, or Luffy and Blackbeard, something we see repeated more than probably any other symbology in the series as far as I'm aware. Zebeck's smile was shown before anything else, connecting him to the Nika theme. Long Ring Longland has associations with the Gomu, and that's where the Davy backfight was debuted. Zebeck's big final battle was at God Valley, maybe foreshadowing its connection to the sun god Nika fruit Zebeck may have used there. I've been saying for the longest time I expect to see some sun symbology right between the valleys, so this would fit nicely, particularly if Zebeck busted out the whole Nika pose. Also, there were slaves at God Valley that were liberated, again indicative of Nika. His debut was 957, which is one above 56, and he's a D-Clan member tying him to Joy Boy. Okay, let's pull it back to the Devil Fruit True Awakening situation and unpack that bit. Firstly, this plays into something we've discussed here before, which is that most people don't choose to eat their Devil Fruit. Instead, they are forced or accidentally eat it, showing us that fate does play a role in the One Piece verse in that sense. We heard the Nika fruit has a will of its own, so these fruits may be choosing their owners. Blackbeard was said to have an obsession over the Yami, foreshadowing this. Interestingly, this could mean that eating the wrong fruit might lead to certain issues. This could explain why some characters behave in certain ways in past arcs, but I haven't dived deep enough yet, so I'll get back to you soon on previous fruit users, what that all means. Lastly, this cements the fact that Luffy is in fact an incarnation of Joy Boy and Nika, as he clearly aligns with the fruit's vibe, and we've seen how powerful that makes him. So just like with the Nika reveal, this is a major lore drop, and now we can go back and figure out some other mysteries. That said, it also raises a ton of questions. For example, is Sabo or Ace the true user of the Mera fruit? This ties into something a good friend and theorist, Kube the Red Sea, has been talking about very recently. I won't put this whole theory on blast, but the spark notes are that the core theme of One Piece is the two sides of the same coin motif, aka duality, which I've mentioned a few times in this video, right? So Luffy and Blackbeard, Roger and Rocks, Joy Boy and Emu. Now, putting this together with what we know about how Nika has been interpreted as both a destroyer and a creator, it could be that devil fruits actually have two true users. Think about Law, the user of the Opi Opi no Mi, in contrast to Dofi, someone who wants that fruit. If we want to push this further, we could then flip it and say maybe Nika has two devil fruits, the Gomu and the Yami, which Rocks then might have got for himself. Either way, it opens up some interesting ideas, which I imagine we'll start getting confirmation on pretty soon. So if you do have any theories, now is the time to be dropping them. Anywho, I'm going to leave it there, but thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the chapter. Break next week, but we're expecting a big God Valley chapter, so strap in, check out our Emu Mega Theory, and don't forget we have one dropping soon called The Theory of Everything, as well as some God's Night Spice coming in the next day or two. If you made it this far, you've just won any devil fruit that hasn't featured in the series yet, so let me know what it is in the comments, and I'll fire it over via cup and string. Thanks again, lots of kisses, and toodle pip.